Hey you, this is Dallas Ann, creator of the Violet Pie, and you're listening to Knitting Myself Together. This is season 1, and during this season, I wanted to talk with you about knitting in public and all the different things that means and different forms that it takes place. Today, I wanted to also invite another friend in to join our conversation. Her name is Mindy, and she knits a lot out of her house, and her work is amazing. And I just wanted to see where our conversation would go today. But before we get there, I did want to just talk with you about some things that have been going on. So last time we got together, I was talking about this sweater of doom, that terrible fingering weight sweater that's a really great idea that I'm submitting to a major publication, but I can't share any of it with you. I can't talk to you about it aside from very vague, abstract ideas. And so I reached out and asked for some help, some support, some encouragement because I had to get that thing done. And you came through. I cannot even begin to express what your support and encouragement meant to me. And that sweater got knocked out in 48 hours, and it is blocking now right as we speak. So I did block it and set it and pinned it out before leaving for my family trip. But when I got back, I realized that I had blocked it a bit too aggressively on half of it and not so aggressively on the other half. So it's blocking again this morning, and it is going to be great and amazing, in large part to you and your encouragement. Thank you for being my community and stepping in there and supporting me through that. I really wish I could show you pictures. Eventually I'll be able to do that, and I cannot wait. The other super amazing thing that happened this week is I released another new pattern. So excited. I can't even with it. It's called Boardwalk. It's a pullover fingering weight sweater that, believe it or not, is the perfect summer knit. It's lightweight and airy, doesn't stick to you, and it meets, at least for me, that need to wear hand knits all year round without sweltering and melting into a puddle of my own sweat. You can find more information about that on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter. You can also find it on the blog or on Ravelry. It's called Boardwalk. I really love it, and let me tell you, my testers for this sweater were phenomenal. You just go to Ravelry, click on the Boardwalk pattern, and you go over to projects, and you can see the vast array of different colors and choices and tastes. You really can't go wrong. Your color preferences will work out perfectly in this pattern, as proven by my testers. They are amazing, and huge thank you to them. Since this is the very first sweater pattern I've ever released publicly, I'm doing a giveaway for it. So you can find the post about that on Instagram and also on Facebook. The giveaway is running today, Thursday, June 15th, through Friday, June 16th. I'll be announcing the winners on Saturday. I'll be giving away a total of 4 patterns for my Boardwalk sweater. 2 to people on Instagram and 2 to people on Facebook. All you need to do is follow my social media profile and then comment and tag a friend who you think would like the pattern. If your comment is chosen at random, then you and your friend will be gifted that pattern on Ravelry. There's no reblogging, there's none of that nonsense. Just just follow and comment. That's it. I would love to see you enter and then see what you knit up. Yardage is super reasonable. Fairly certain most of us have enough of it in our own stash. Also, I did a ton of knitting in public last week. I went with my family to Chicago, and we spent almost an entire week there, seeing various different museums and friends and going to the lake and taking public transit. And it was spectacular. So much knitting on the bus and the train and on the car ride up. And it was amazing. All except for the fact that I had a broken foot. 72 hours before leaving, I walked out of the bathroom and slammed my foot into the baseboard corners and broke my foot. That was pretty terrible. That was on Friday. We were leaving on Monday. It was whatever you're thinking about that experience, that's probably what did happen. But everything held up. I wasn't the only adult going, so the kids weren't prevented from going to any of the things they wanted to see. If I needed to sit down and take a breather, somebody else was able to be the adult and chaperone the children. It was really as perfect as that situation could go. It went that way. So I got to hang out with Sue the dinosaur and knit. It was fun. There's a whole slew of pictures that you can see over on Instagram. I'm the Violet Pie over there. I'm also the Violet Pie on Facebook. Pretty much anywhere you can find me, I'm under my knitting label name, which is the Violet Pie. Like I said. Anyways, I will take a pause here and have Mindy join us. She's great. I know it can be a little weird adding somebody else to our conversation, but she's going to fit in, I promise. She's amazing and spectacular, and I can't wait for you to get to know her. Hey, Mindy, you're here.
Hey, Dallas Ann.
I'm super excited because it's been way too hard to make this happen.
Yes.
Life, you've got your own insanity and I've got this beautiful broken foot. It's awesome.
Yes, chaos reigns, but we're going to try to overcome it here.
Right? Although, I gotta say, having this whole going to the doctors and like at the last minute and all that sort of stuff has really improved my ability to work on this stupid sweater that I need to get done.
All that waiting room knitting, baby. It's like free knitting time.
I know. And like there wasn't even any terrible TV on to distract me because, I went midday. So actually like mid-morning. So I've got podcasts in and I'm knitting and like it's like they forgot I was there. So I got in a solid chunk. It was good.
Excellent.
Yeah, as good as this sort of thing can be. So.
It's productive time.
Yes.
That's the most you can ask for.
Yes.
Instead of just having a wasted 3 hours or whatever in the waiting room.
I know.
While everyone else, including people with paper cuts, was probably seeing before you.
Right? Because there's no like external bleeding. I didn't have any like bones protruding from my skin.
They're like, you're fine. You're not going to bleed out here in the linoleum.
Right? Although, you know what? I'm really glad they took care of all the sad children before me because there's nothing worse than being that mom with the sobbing, feverish kid and you see, like, regular people just go in front of you. Even though, like, I know intellectually that they were there first, it still is like, ah! Anyways. Yay for prompt cares. Anyways, so I'm a little tired and loopy and that's exciting.
Podcast is going to get weird.
Got it. Yep. Oh, so I am really excited. It's really fun to watch you knit like my own stuff. I've never seen anybody knit a pattern that I've done.
It's like hearing somebody cover your song or something, I guess.
Right? Or it's kind of like, I don't know, in some weird way, seeing my grandkids out in public or something. I don't know. Because, so I'm super excited with the boardwalk that you're doing because everybody else has done like a solid colored main color and you're variegated. It's really pushing me out of my comfort zone because I would have never done a variegated because it freaks out my control issues too much to have variegated yarn.
Right, and I'm also sort of, I don't want to say anti-variegated, but I'm very cautious about it because it's just a real roll of the dice. You don't know.
I know.
It could just end up with like a blob. you could get really interested. You know, some of the ones that my local yarn store carries are designed to sort of come out in an argyle.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you're over the right number of stitches.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, it's just like paint splotches. It's like a Pollock or something.
Yes. I once had yarn that was designed to work up like argyle, and I had so many, I was trying to knit a child-size sweater, and somehow it worked out so all the pink, purple, and white were on the front, and all the green, orange, and blue were on the back.
That's very weird.
It was very weird, and I was not okay with it. And it was like my last time I ever actually tried to use variegated yarn. Tonal really pushes me out of my comfort zone anyways, so.
Yeah, well, this was a vacation souvenir. My best friend and I went up to Estes Park and stayed at the Stanley back in April. And there happens to be an extremely nice yarn store in Estes Park, Colorado. And of course the name is escaping me, but it's super, I think it's the only one, so
right.
I think you should be able to track it down. But for some places that's the only game in town, they honestly didn't have to try very hard. But it was just like this long noodly store. Like every time you thought you were in the last room, there was at least one more room behind it.
That would drive me crazy.
It was, yeah, I don't know how many actual retail spaces they were taking up, whether the place was subdivided more at one point and they just kept bumping out a wall to take over the next space. But it's beautiful, and I went, unfortunately we were there on the weekend of Interweave Fiber Fest.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of the shop staff was in Loveland, I think it was held in Loveland. So they were in Loveland instead of being at the shop. But the woman who was there manning the ship was extremely helpful.
That's great.
Showed me a lot of really beautiful local yarns that I wish I could have bought, but I wanted to get something that I had enough that I could do one project and not just get like an extravagant edge yarn or something for a hat or whatever.
Make
or
very
just the edge of
expensive
a shawl.
socks.
Exactly. I might have been able to make a half a pair of socks with the stuff that I really wanted. It was amazing. It had beads in it, and the fiber content was just heavenly, and I was like, so I ended up picking this up, and I chose this because the yardage, I think there's 1,200 yards in this skein.
Of DK weight. No, sport.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
No fingering. See, I can't even, I'm so tired, I can't even remember my own pattern.
And I'm like the worst at technical details. I'm just like, oh, I'm going to make this work. I don't, it calls for worsted, and I have lace weight. I'll adjust my gauge. I'll just put it on bigger needles. It'll be fine.
Okay. Hold it double, call it good. Because isn't that what you did with your amazing Rockefeller that you did for family pictures?
It was lace weight yarn that I had bought for another project that did not work out. I was trying to do a Schiaparelli bow knot sweater. And it was supposed to be very tweedy, sort of diaphanous fabric. I'm probably saying that wrong because I am also very tired. But anyway.
Mom life.
Exactly. But yeah, so you were supposed to be able to see through the fabric a little bit, but you could read a newspaper through my swatch to get the gauge and everything. So I repurposed it and held it double, which meant that I had 6 active strands of yarn at various points in that. And it was very tedious, but the end result is gorgeous.
Yes. Did you end up doing any of that knitting in public, or was it so...
I did, because I ended up describing it because people would be like, oh, what are you making? And I was like, oh, well, it's a shawl, and it's vaguely shaped like the Millennium Falcon. And I could be like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, that's the shape. And so even with half a project or 2/3 of the project, I had the crescent done and one wing. That was an easy point of reference for people. I mean, it's not exact. Like, I don't want someone to come at you in the comments like, your guest doesn't know what the Millennium Falcon looks like. I do. No, but that was close enough.
Geek girls, it's okay.
Yeah. I'm like, not great, but I know. But that was good enough for a layperson's understanding.
Right.
So.
I have a Rockefeller that truly does actually look like the Millennium Falcon with the coloring. I didn't realize it until like I had finished the full crescent, and so a friend of mine, he saw it when I was knitting one day, and he's like, "What? You're making a Millennium Falcon?" And I'm like, "No." It's like, "Damn, I thought you were really good at knitting there for a minute."
You just make another one and sew them together. A giant Millennium Falcon pillow.
So, but that is in long-term hibernation because I got halfway through the first wing and wanted to like poke my eyes out. I was so bored with it. Like it doesn't even count as like car knitting anymore, and I'm really sad because I have this amazing smooshy cashmere base blend yarn thing, but I just can't. And I really just have to, right now my knitting time is so limited, it has to be what I love. It just, I cannot knit anything out of sheer obligation, except for this stupid fingering weight sweater that I need to finish. But after that, damn it, nothing but I love after that.
And that's kind of an awkward knit in public piece, too, because I remember I felt like I was wearing it.
Yes.
Once I got the first wing done and I was working on the second, I had to sort of drape it over my shoulder. And I was like, this is roughly the effect that the Millennium Falcon will have when I'm wearing it. Except it's going to have an equally long wing coming down here. And I love it. That's kind of what got me my volunteer gig. I think that was the piece I was wearing when I was at our local senior center, and they said, "You knit, really? Because we're looking for someone."
And so that's translated into like, is it you don't actually teach a class?
Like, not really. Saying that I'm teaching a class would sort of be disingenuous because everybody knows what they're doing, basically.
Right.
But I sit with the group on Friday, and I understand patterns well enough to provide help with that. I can put a really simple crochet edge on something that's made out of acrylic to help it from curling, things like that I can offer that aren't in the group skill set sometimes, depending, because a lot of them are just old school knitters. They work off a loom, the circular ones with the spokes on them, because it's a super quick way to do charity hats, whether they're doing for newborns or homeless vets
and it makes like the snakes that come out of the bottom, the circular loom
it's
things.
almost like that, except with like 50 of those around the edge, so it's a much bigger one, but it's like the I-cord looms, just huge.
Now I know what you're talking about. I've seen some of those at my local yarn store. Yeah.
And I've been the recipient of baby hats like that from various hospitals where people donate their time and their yarn and their skills to provide newborn hats. And I never quite understood how they were getting such a stretchy knit, and it's because they were using these looms. So they can give you a hat that looks like it's only going to fit your wrist, and it will fit a 10-pound baby with a giant head as well, because it's got enough elasticity to the knit, which is a huge benefit to using the looms. They're very quick. They provide a very stretchy, finished project that can fit a variety of sizes, from a larger child to an adult with a bigger head or a lot of hair.
How do you close it off, like end it, so you don't have a bunch of like
I got to watch somebody do that today. So that was kind of exciting because it's just not in my skill set or my experiences. The one woman took stuff off her loom today, and for the last row, instead of using the included hook, you take just a darning needle or a yarn needle or whatever and hook your stitches on, and you just draw it shut like a drawstring bag.
Oh, so there's just like you would close any other hat.
Like no decreasing or anything for the crown. You just pull it around and loop it through and reinforce it a little bit with some extra stitches, and you're done.
Awesome. Maybe I'll set my kids up with that for Christmas, maybe, because they are perpetually wanting to learn how to knit. But every time I sit down with them, there's a reason why I don't homeschool. And
I get it. I've tried to teach my daughter, and she watches me Netflix and knit all the time.
Oh, yeah.
and she gets too distracted because she just thinks that she should be able to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it, but no amount of emphasizing that you really have to pay attention. And like, my whole knitting process was just me cursing at my needles excessively because I couldn't get the purl stitch down. and she's kind of at that point, without the cursing because she's 9, but she needs to put all of her focus on that, and she gets very frustrated if she gets distracted for a second because she looks to see what's going on in the movie, and then she has 25 stitches instead of 18 because she's doing like unnecessary yarn overs or splitting her threads or whatever. So
yes, mine gets frustrated that they can't knit as fast as I do, and yeah, because I'm pretty epic with my speed. I don't know if you saw when we were all sharing videos of how fast we knit in the Facebook group that we're all a part of.
Yes.
But yeah, I had one friend who's like, so I thought you were on fast forward and you were just all trolling us. I'm like, nope. Nope. But she gets really frustrated. My oldest does it. She can't knit as fast as I do. I'm like, baby girl, I have been knitting since for over a decade now. It's all muscle memory. You've just got to give yourself time, and that's just not good enough. I'm like, well, then go outside and climb a tree, please. Please, you're really good at that. Just go take a book and climb a tree. And 9 times out of 10, she's much happier with that. Are you dropping stitches?
No, I somehow wrapped my yarn around. I'm working on the bobbles here. And I wrapped my yarn around my left needle somehow, and I couldn't figure out which loop in the bobble I did that with. Fortunately, it was the last one.
Yes. So in the Ravelry forums for the Violet Pie, have you happened to be following along in the knit along thread? I know you're not doing the knit along, but have you been following along by any chance?
I have not been because I have been personally swamped.
No, I hear you. The only reason why I'm following along is because, it's my job.
Fair point.
Yeah, but this one, bless her heart, she's finished the shawl and it looks amazing and beautiful, except there's no baubles at the bottom. And she said, don't ask where the baubles are. We don't use the B word in the house anymore. It made me laugh so hard, and then I felt so terrible. And I'm like, oh, well, design features. You have a beautiful and unique scalloped edge shawl, and it is perfect and amazing.
Yes. Was it last summer? I believe it was last summer. My husband was deployed, and I think that was one of the things I treated myself to try to maintain my own mental health. Our local yarn store hosted Stephen B., and he's very big on variations in projects. So he is always excited when you've done something sort of odd or unconventional with a project, and it still turned out to be if it came unraveled, that might be different.
Right.
But if you get a completed object and it didn't follow his pattern, he's like, hey, I like this variation. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Like, he was very encouraging of changing patterns up.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it when people take my idea and then translate it into something that is perfect for them. I love being that springboard for creativity. I mean, I get frustrated. I in this current iteration of knitting patterns, I haven't had a tester just completely go off the rails. Mm-hmm. But I have seen in other testing forums, it's so I didn't have any worsted weight, so I held fingering double and, on lace, on this lace shawl or lace sweater. And I'm not going to be able to give you a favorable review on your pattern because it was really difficult.
I think you would have had the discussion before about recipes where somebody's like, I didn't have any fresh quail meat, so I used chicken nuggets, and it turned out terrible. 0 stars. Yes. 0 stars. Would not make again. Right.
I had no bananas for my banana cream pie, and it did not taste good. 0 stars. I'm like, it's just never read comments. That's the rule for the internet. It's just no comments.
Yes, I follow a bot on Twitter that's don't read the comments, and it just enters, don't. Don't even. I might have unfollowed it just to clean up my feed a little bit, but for a while I did, and it was like just a reminder that no good has ever come from reading the comments.
Yes. Oh, so I know that you've said that you help with at the senior center, you do you help facilitate the knitting group there. Do you have any other groups locally that you knit with, or friends, or anything like that?
I had a friend, well, I mean, we're still friends, but she moved out. I'm in Colorado Springs, and she moved out toward the mountains, like up in the mountains. Colorado Springs is considered part of the Front Range, so we're at the foot of the mountains, and it doesn't take very long to get into the mountains, but she's like back a dirt road and over a hill and all this other stuff now, and it's a little bit tougher to arrange knitting dates with her. Although maybe I should set something up like this.
Right? So, the internet is great.
And occasionally I get in, although it's been about 2 months because the end of the school year killed me because everybody had a party or an award ceremony on the morning that I typically reserve for going to the yarn store to knit. But I usually went in to the yarn store to knit with the same group on a weekday morning. Once everybody's kids were in school, we'd just kind of go in and collapse and just be like, ugh!
Yes.
Okay. Finally, we get to be people instead of moms for like an hour, and we can do
yes.
But yeah, that's kind of it. It's a little bit tough to find knitters.
Yeah.
Especially my own age. I'm very happy to go into the senior center. The knitting there seems to be a very unifying experience. When I initially was connected to the senior center, it was for a project where I had to evaluate the cultural competency of a local agency, and I went in and sort of did observational things, and people self-segregate based on their age groups because baby boomers sit with baby boomers, older people in their 90s generally sit with people in their 90s, even along language groups. If there's a fair number of German military spouses, I don't think they quite self-segregate as much as some of the other groups, but if Spanish is your native language, even if you're fluent in English, you're drawn to people with similar backgrounds. Mm-hmm. But the knitting group is extremely diverse because the activity provides all the structure or whatever that group needs to be cohesive. Like, we talk about our projects, we talk about our lives also, but everything is very project focused. So out of today's group, there were 4 women there plus me. I think maybe 2 of us today, I think, were US born. And everybody else there was a woman from Africa, a woman from Europe, a woman from Asia. It's a very diverse group. So it's kind of nice to go in there and have that connection. But as far as finding people my own age who have the same hobby, that's been a lot harder. I'm like the odd man out.
Yeah.
Almost anywhere I go.
Yeah, it's kind of somewhat similar here. So I have a friend who's in my age group who knits, and thankfully she lives like a couple streets over, and that's nice. We try and it's maybe like a once a month thing because we both have kids and live very busy lives, and kind of, our work schedules don't necessarily line up. But aside from that, it's like, what I really want is I want a knitting group that meets at a super chill, laid-back bar on Sunday evenings.
Yes. That would be ideal.
Yes.
To prepare yourself for the week to come.
Right? Let's have a cider, do some knitting, because let me tell you, some of my best knitting happens when I'm buzzed.
Some of my worst knitting has happened when I was buzzed. My friend, before she moved up to the mountains, she and I got together at a local brewery, because in Colorado Springs, it is like a brewery city, very brewery-centered city. We have great brew culture, we have great food truck culture as a result, because most of those places don't have their own kitchens. But we got together at a brewery, and then we moved to the coffee shop that has a liquor license next door to it.
Nice.
And I was working on a brioche project.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up having like 11 ribs on one side and 8 on the other, because I was learning how to do that while drinking, and it did not go well.
Nope.
Like, I need to call an Uber into my alcohol. And it wasn't like one beer with a large meal and I was knitting. No, it was like 2 in on a pretty empty stomach, which for me is like drinking like the end of the world.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm a super lightweight. It's a little ridiculous. I'm a really cheap date because of that.
Same.
One time, a couple friends and I, we were on a long girls' weekend, and we found a yarn store that had a food and liquor license.
That's excellent.
It was amazing. I mean, they didn't have any food that was safe for me to eat because that's basically impossible, and I accept that. But they let me bring in my own food, and then I bought a drink from them, and it was spectacular. And I probably bought more yarn there than I was anticipating because I was lubricated.
Yes. You go in there and it's like that meme that's like, I buy the affordable groceries and I pick out modest clothes, and then I go into the yarn store and it's like big fur coat and the sunglasses and throwing bills into the air.
Yes. I think of the song Thrift Store. Is it Thrift Store?
Thrift Shop.
Yes. That whole music video makes me very happy.
Yes, the running across the sofas and the big ridiculous fur coat.
To be honest, that's what I envision you doing when you go thrifting for your Etsy shop.
That's basically what I look like, but I'm like, I have a very annoyed look on my face because while I enjoy that song, I'm like, a couple of years ago I was at the thrift store, and around here, thrift stores' holiday season is Halloween. It's like going into the mall or someplace that has customers at Christmas. That's here at Halloween. They really push out, like, do your own costume. And I remember sitting there just, like, grumbling in late September, like, between Macklemore and Halloween, all these usurpers are in my thrift store. Like, get out.
Get off my lawn, you urchins.
They're the people that are like, I heard that you can sell these old dishes online. And they clearly don't know anything about it. Clearly. They're just like, I'm going to buy this and then I'm going to sell it. Okay. But do you know what you have? Do you know what year that was made in? Like, you just can't just take old junk and...
I know.
It's not a get rich quick. It's a get rich slow. And
get stuff slow.
Defray your costs slow. I do it because it's a resume filler and I really enjoy it, and really where else am I going to use my knowledge of like old dishes and vintage fashion trends and whatever.
Well, I'm sure it makes it really easy to like have things to bond with the people in the knitting group. Because
a little bit. I can make a joke or talk about a trend or something like that. My parents aren't exceedingly old, but they got married a little bit older or a little bit later than some of their peers did. So my parents were always just slightly older than all my friends' parents were. So I grew up listening to my dad's record collection and stuff like that. And it's 70s stuff. It's not 80s stuff. So, or even 90s. Like, I don't remember the first CD I bought for myself that was sort of contemporary music in the least. I think it was probably like in 1994 or 1995. So, yeah, it's nice because my frame of reference for TV shows and music and clothes is just a little bit older than I feel a lot of my age peers' frames of references are.
Yep.
Properly. Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like I'm in good company. I can make a joke about Minnie Pearl, and people are like, "Ha ha ha!" instead of like, "Who?"
Yeah. Yes. I have watched almost every episode of Lawrence Welk from when I was a child. At least what they aired on PBS on Sunday evenings. And I used to think that show was like that was active air, like currently being aired on television.
That's funny.
And I remember going to my parents being like, Mom, Dad, you're not going to be happy with this, but when I grow up, I'm going to audition for the Lawrence Welk show. When I turn 18, that's what I'm going to do with my life. I want to do that. And they were like, hate to break it to you, but you know that black and white show you've been watching? It's not current. Yeah. And so we looked up all the information about the museum, and I was so heartbroken. So heartbroken.
Yeah, I think my kids even have a sort of passing knowledge of hee-haw, because we were stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky before we came out to Colorado, and we used to go to Nashville a lot because Fort Campbell, the area around Fort Campbell is okay, but I think at least when we lived there, it was very easy to sort of tap out everything unless you found something you really enjoyed going to on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. It's like, I guess they had a good children's museum, but then we'd go to Nashville to go to the bigger children's museum to change it up a little bit. And we've done a Country Music Hall of Fame, even though I am not much for country music, especially contemporary country.
Yeah.
But it was like fun seeing like Dolly's costumes and Hank's car, and they had, I don't know if it's part of the permanent exhibit or if it was just a temporary exhibition, but they had a hee-haw thing where they had a cornfield, and they had Minnie Pearl's hats with the tags on and everything. So
awesome.
I'm raising a generation of kids who are just going to be like stuck out of time and space themselves.
Well, my theory is that everybody's going to be socially awkward because the internet has kind of ruined things. And so they might as well be socially awkward in awesome ways.
Yeah, like having an odd hobby.
Right.
Apparently knitting is, from what I've gathered. From knitting in public.
I know. I really wish that. So, let me start over. The internet has made it really easy for me not to feel weird about my knitting, because I can kind of self-select and where I am online and what I do, and I feel like knitting should be a much more vibrant thing. Like, I see a lot of people my age knitting, people younger than me knitting, and that sort of stuff, and I guess at least where I live, that is not the case terribly much. And it's just really discouraging, and I kind of just want to like slurp us all up like in like a knitting vacuum and like deposit us all in the same room like once a month or something.
Right. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Weekly, I'm just thinking out loud, weekly would probably be too much to ask. But
once a month at least.
Right. Keep some sanity going.
I think one of my oddest experiences knitting in public was I was working on post here while I was waiting for a class or something like that, like a volunteer certification or something. And I was knitting in the waiting area, and somebody from the building staff came up and said, are you German? Like, I'd not said anything, and I was like trying to figure out what German vibe I was throwing off. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, there's, again, there's a fair number of German-speaking spouses around here, young, old, whatever. But I guess this guy just didn't think that American women knit in public, especially American women who are maybe like Gen X or younger.
Right.
It just seemed, I guess he was just trying to sort of put it in a context that he understood. Like, oh, she must be European.
Right.
They do that all the time. And he really, if I would have had my accordion with me too.
Too bad you didn't have 4 hands, so you could like play the accordion and knit at the same time. That's going to be
my thing. That'll be my viral video claim to fame. I'm going to find a way to make that work.
Instead of Chewbacca Mom, you'll be
like a Rube Goldberg contraption on the front of the bellows that just catches things. I could probably do this in my abundant
I actually
time.
think you could. Summer's rapidly approaching. You'll have lots of time.
Oh, my kids are already out, so
Oh yeah.
I'll make them help me build it.
When a couple years ago, I was working for an ad agency, and it was full of really young people, like super young, and they were all really kind of blown away by the fact that I was knitting and doing like what their grandmas do sort of thing, because I would knit on my lunch breaks. So people would walk past and see what I was doing. Well, after about like 2 weeks of that, I came to my desk one day and somebody had found at a garage sale a whole bunch of those old aluminum straights, knitting needles.
That's what I started with.
Yep. And they had tied it up with, how stereotypical is this, with burlap ribbon. And like put a little calligraphy note with it, said, "Thinking of you. Saw this past weekend." I have no idea who left it for me, but they just put it on my desk, and I'm like, oh,
That's extremely sweet. It's like getting like hand-picked flowers or something.
I know. And I'm like, it just made me so happy.
Aw.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I used to knit at work as well. That's actually why I started knitting, because I had a soul-crushing security job. I mean, like the people that I reported to weren't bad. I actually married my boss from the company, but then we worked. Oh, scandal on the knitting podcast. But then we were mostly subcontractors for various businesses, and the work itself or the reporting to the bosses wasn't bad, but we had a lot of college students who did third shifts because it's just almost unlimited time to work on anything. Because a lot of the assignments are Firewatch or dispatch, so you either just take phone calls as they come in, which they don't really come in very often at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Or you get up once an hour and walk around the building and do just a round, and sometimes the places had like the old style punch clocks that look like a canteen with a roll of paper in it, and you'd have to go around and turn a key and put the imprint on the paper or the tape or whatever. But between those rounds, you'd have 45 or 50 minutes typically that you had to stay awake. And it was awful. So I needed something physical where I could engage in it and keep moving.
Right.
Because reading was not cutting it. I would fall asleep if I tried to read.
No. Yeah.
And I tried to think of something I could do, and I thought, you know what, I've never knitted a day in my life. I'm just going to go get some yarn and needles and a brochure from a big box store, and then on top of the brochure I went to learntonit.com, I believe, which is like a sub-URL of the Craft Yarn Council of America. So between those two resources, I taught myself, because it was pre-YouTube.
Right.
Or I guess if YouTube existed, it certainly wasn't in everyone's pockets, because I had like candy bar phone at the time. Right, I did not have instant access to the internet.
Oh, my favorite phone was my red sparkly candy bar phone. I still miss that thing.
Yeah, it was like whatever that Nokia model that's like making a hipster comeback now.
Yes.
For like the low-tech type people that are
the
like
low-tech hipsters.
Yes. Like, I don't even own a TV equivalent of cell phone users.
Yes. I can't do that. I need the internet in my pocket.
No, that is one tech innovation that I really enjoy.
Yes. Or the Stitch row counter app that I can tap my screen to keep track of things.
Really? See, I don't have that. I have just the little thing that I wear on my thumb if I'm working on a particular type of project. And I'm really hoping that I'm not going to regret doing this, because I was trying to count rows as I was working on this as we were getting ready to start this podcast. But
so what I like about my app is that I can save my count for different projects.
That's really cool. Yeah. And I always worry when I wake this digital counter up. It's like a slightly fancier version of what you would use if you were at the county fair, counting people coming in. And who knows, that might be what it's actually for, and then yarn stores just latched onto it. Like, we have a new life for this.
Yes.
So when I wake it up, I think sometimes it adds a row. So if I stopped at 5 and I wake it up just so I can keep counting, if I don't wake it up at the end of my row and I don't intend to count one there, I end up one ahead.
Oh, bad news.
So that would definitely be a benefit of the app over the clicker.
Yeah. Yes, although, so I used to knit in the dark all the time when my kids weren't able to go to sleep without mom in the room, but I refused to lay down with them because, at least for me, I would lay down with them at 7 o'clock at bedtime and then wake up at 10:30 at night and be like, well,
I get that.
That sucks. So I used to be like, the Goodnight Moon book, where the grandma rabbit would be sitting by the fireplace and knitting in the dark. I was like the Goodnight Moon grandma rabbit and sitting by the door and knitting in the dark. And so I couldn't use my screen on my phone to keep track of rows because it would light up and they'd sit up and go, "Who'd you get a message from?" Like, nobody.
What's
go
going
back
on?
to sleep.
What I missed?
One of my most soul-crushing jobs, I worked at a call center as a over-the-phone vacuum repair lady, and I used to repair.
Have you unplugged and replugged the vacuum?
Right? Or I can change the belt on almost any vacuum model out there. I'm really good at that, like verbally walking people through that. Or this one time, I that was the first time I ever pulled out my knitting while on a call because I was so angry. Because if you take a call 5 minutes before your shift ends, you have to stay on that call until it ends. And so my shift ended at like 8 o'clock that night, and at 7:56 a call came through. And it was 8:30 and I was still on that call. And it was a guy calling from Florida, and at least I think it was Florida. But he could not figure out how to get the base plate off of his vacuum to change the belt. And suddenly I hear what I assumed was the vacuum being thrown across the room. And he goes, "You don't understand. I am a literal rocket scientist. And I cannot fix my vacuum."
I'd say Florida or Alabama, maybe Texas if he's a literal rocket scientist.
Yeah. And I said, "Well, sir, how about you take it into a repair shop? I can look one up for you locally." It was really ridiculous. I kind of felt bad for him, but also at the same time, it's really hard not to laugh at him. So I just kept knitting to like keep that verbal straight face.
Imagining the damage he's done to the drywall. And
oh my gosh.
Whether you need to refer him to a drywall service as well.
That is way above my pay grade. Not my job. Oh, well, I should probably let you go. I've got to go do things like dinner and laundry and, hobble around on one foot.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, in all the terrible ways. I'm a little morose about this because we're supposed to go on a major trip next week. And it's a walking vacation. There's very little public transit. I mean, there's lots of public transit, but we'll be on it very briefly, and it's going to be terrible and awful and wonderful all at the same time, I'm sure. So,
oh goodness, I have to see if there's a borrowing closet for one of those scooters. So you just put the bad foot on the scooter seat.
That's a really good
idea.
Yes.
I would say I would recommend your local senior center because I know our senior center has a lending closet for equipment like that as long as you bring it back.
Well,
but I don't know what the parameters are. Like if you had an adult child and you were like, I need this for my daughter, I don't know if they would let you have it or what the deal is, what kind of collateral you have to leave behind.
Right. Well, I will not be the only adult going. So if my foot is really in a bad way, I plan on bringing bringing knitting in my backpack and then sitting at all the museum entrances and letting the other adults take the children through the exhibits and I'll sit
being
there
a performance art piece in the lobby.
Yes! Oh my gosh, yes. I will sit by Sue the dinosaur and knit her a scarf. And
there will be so many pictures of you on Instagram.
Yes. Hashtag the violet pie. Just do that. All right, Mindy, thank you so much for
Absolutely,
taking this time.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm really hoping that maybe we could, or I could figure out a way to do a virtual knitting hangout group with not just you and I, but lots of people. We could do it through Google Hangouts, and then, we wouldn't record it for a podcast or anything, but just sort of hang out together, because I am 95% sure that you and I aren't the only two primarily isolated knitters.
No, and I know at least one other.
Right?
my friend who moved out to the country, so.
Yes, and and there will be no need to Uber home if we enjoy adult beverages while knitting. I mean, maybe that might be a poor life choice for you, but for me, I know it will be okay.
I will pick a simple project that does not involve a brand new technique.
There we go. All right. Well, I will talk to you later, hon.
Absolutely. Okay. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with Mindy just as much as I did. Clearly, I need more face-to-face time with fellow knitters and crafters and like-minded folk. And I really liked the idea of having some sort of hangout electronically. I really want to give that a try. What do you think? Doing some sort of Google Hangout and crafting together and just chatting. I would love to do that with you and the rest of our community. I was thinking maybe doing that sometime in July on a weekend. Let me know what you think. Give me a shout out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter. You can also email me at thevioletpie@gmail.com or reach out on the Ravelry group that's under The Violet Pie as well. All of these things, links to social media and places, are in show notes. Also, just reminding you again, there is that giveaway happening today, Thursday, June 15th through Friday, June 16th. I'll announce on Saturday who the winner is. It would be a ton of fun to see what you create with the pattern as well. Next week, you and I will be back to our regular format, just you and I hanging out, chilling, talking about the season 1 topic of knitting in public. I was thinking about having this additional person joining us, someone else that I know or maybe that you know and suggest. Join us in conversation maybe once per season. What do you think about that? Let me know, or you know of somebody that I should get to know. Connect us. I would love to hear from you because this is between you and I. This is something that we do together, and I want this to be a conversation that intrigues and engages you as well as me. Next week, again, we'll be back to our standard format of just you and I cannot wait. Until next time, keep that yarn moving.